Hi, this is Gordon with the Chicago Doctor Who meetup. Wanted to reach out and do a little something different for our annual report. Usually I do a PowerPoint that's numbers and plans and highlights and usually share that in early January, but I thought, who really looks at PowerPoints? I hate PowerPoint. I don't want to do it. So for our paid Patreon members, you'll get the financials later in January. But for everyone else, I thought I'd talk a little bit about what happened this past year, what our current status is, and where we're going to be going. And I kind of want to see that a lot of this year we've had a lot of change, and a lot of loss. On a personal level, I moved, so I'm in my lovely home office, which is in the rear of my apartment. Some of you know the details, some of you don't know the details, but let's just say it was a very interesting time. We recently, Loyola University converted our meeting space near Third Coast into a department office, which means we no longer have that available. So I want to publicly thank Terry for hosting us for well over 10 years. Wonderful dude. The fact that he put up with me all that time should tell you something about the strength of his character. And then, as some of you may know, we are changing email providers because TinyLetter, our list provider, is being folded as of late February, so we're on button down. Subscription information below. But despite all these changes, we've actually been pretty good. In fact, I'm really glad that we've managed to get some things done. We've had we had a return to Blue Box, which is going to be our new yearly event. We've had a great slew of Big Finish and virtual meetups, but there's been something that I felt been lacking over the past few years, and that's been actually this is even before COVID, which is interaction. Back in the day, in the early 2010s, I know it seems forever ago, doesn't it? Usually when we do like screenings or we'd have Big Finish listening parties, it would be people come in, watch, leave. And even recently virtually, people just come in to watch and then they kind of stay silent. And the other thing that's been happening, and it's a good thing and a bad thing, it's the ever popular, well, why don't you do meetups that are convenient to me, or why don't you do meetups that are at my, when I can handle them? Which, the only explanations I'll have is this. One is, I'm only one person. We can't be all things to all people. And this is not my day job. It is a hobby. Luckily, that's why we do virtual meetups, because that way we don't have to worry about having to people travel, because during the winter, who wants to go out in the snow? Another issue is just I can't be, there's really no convenient time for anybody. So I have to go my best behavior. But ultimately, right now, I think a big part of it is that it's trying to find a reason to get Doctor Who fans together. And just to do it on a regular, casual basis. We're not Chicago TARDIS. And especially now with Doctor Who on streaming in the US being so fragmented, because you've got 3 or 4 sites that have Classic Who. You've got Tubi, Pluto TV, and BritBox, and Retro TV, which is one of those. It would be that deep VHS channel if you grew up in the 70s or 80s. And please, no cracks about my age. You've got Classic Who there. You've got New Who on HBO Max, and you have everything, the specials and everything else new on Disney. It kind of makes for interesting kind of how do we do all that, and trying to handle the fact that you can have Doctor Who whenever you want, whether you pay for it or not. And I thought maybe in 2024 we turned the loss of our regular monthly meetup at Third Coast into a blessing. It gives us a little bit more freedom and a little bit more flexibility. Terry has done a wonderful job at hosting us, and hopefully one day we'll come back. But I think this way, instead of having a one-time place where one day a week we go and we hang out and try to figure out what to do, we can be a lot more flexible and have events that have impact, where people want to come and people can make time on their schedule to come, versus trying to figure out how we appeal to a bunch of people, to basically Who fans all throughout the city. We're still going to be doing Big Finish listening parties and screenings virtually, though we're probably not going to do them as frequently, and we'll probably have a screening in late January. I'm going to set that up after I do this video. I'm not going to say when it is. Our paid Patreon members will get a heads up within the next few days, and that will go public before our next newsletter, which will be kind of mid-January. I know what you're thinking. I'm not going to spoil it. Although I'm going to have to say, for the one or two people who keep pushing, we're not seeing Warriors of the Deep. Not yet, anyway. And we're still going to kind of hold to our usual schedule, which is November through March, which is where we're at now. I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. It should go out within either on New Year's Day or the 2nd. We're going to stay in because it's snowing outside, it's weather, it's cold, nobody wants to move. I'm not going to try to plan to get people together. But from March until October, we're going to try to do at least one in person and one virtual event. And in terms of the obvious question, and I know a lot of people are asking you, as far as the new series, I need to figure that out because it's available. The new series is available via Disney, and Disney uses software called DRM, which means that even if I got a subscription and tried to share the browser on Zoom or any other medium, you're going to get a blank screen because Disney has software, and most of the major streamers do, that prevent you from seeing it. Some services have their paid options to have a watch party, but everyone would have to either be on Disney Plus or own the same video file on like Amazon elsewhere. And to me, holding a meetup and expecting, if I'm trying to keep costs down, asking you to buy something that you can just as easily watch on your own as watching a group doesn't make any sense. Tubi, we can do screenings on Tubi, but in terms of the new series, I'm not sure how that will work out. And in terms of pirating, although I can understand why with the current streaming situation, as well as other factors, piracy, you may see that as a legitimate option. I'm not sure that should be an option for our meetup. I have very ethical concerns. And you're talking to a guy who has seen several of his books offered on websites with Cyrillic language, being called free or reduced price. So piracy does affect me. But however, we do have plans for the next year. Within the next few weeks, I'll be reaching out to Blue Box Cafe because I want to turn that into a yearly event. I want that to be, if not a kickoff event, at least a big event. People want to come. People are curious. It's right off of the Metro line. We can do that. I want to continue to do that, and I'm going to do that. I've also had one or two people suggest that we return to Red Lion Pub. I'm looking at notes. I've got Red Lion Cafe. Now, if we do, they won't be for screenings. It'll be for socials. So for the two gentlemen who have spent years pestering me and complaining about portion size of food at Red Lion Pub, here's a big hint. Okay, look at me. Look at me. You actually don't have to order food. We can set it up so if all you want to order are soft drinks, I'm cool with that. As far as getting a regular kind of headquarters meeting place, I'm putting that off for a while, simply because I think after a really low-key year last year, and one that I was dealing with a lot of other stuff that I'm not going to go on here to talk about, I think we could use just some general, I think people need a release. And then what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks is I'm hoping to put together and propose a panel for C2E2. Not making any promises. I can put in the proposal. If they say yes, great. If they say no, no problem. I am going to be, I think, we're probably going to limit our panel options to Console Room, which January 13th to 15th, we're part of several virtual panels. I'll let you know about those. And C2E2. Chicago TARDIS, part of working with them means we have to make sure that we're already going to be there, and everything else. And I'll just say this. For all of you who are talking to me and asking me if I'd be willing to work with them, I'd be willing to if they invited us. So, Gene, Taylor, staff of Chicago TARDIS, ball's in your court. And speaking of talk, just something I want to make, it's going to get a little deep now, so bear with me. And over the years, I'd say since about 2018, kind of around the time where Jodie Whittaker was announced, we've seen an increase in people deciding that, well, it's okay if they decide to, troll me privately and publicly, talk about how Chibnall's writing stinks, Jodie Whittaker's a bad doctor, and it's starting to come out with Russell T Davies and Ncuti Gatwa. So, a couple of things I want to make clear. We have a code of conduct down below. Chicago Doctor Who Meetup is a troll-free zone. Anybody can lash out to somebody else via Facebook. Takes no courage to do that. In fact, it's actually quite easy. I've done it myself. I'm not proud. And if you think that maybe it's kind of a sharp, clever thing to go to a Who meetup at a convention or an event and just keep harping and disrupting and stating how you don't like Doctor Who because, okay, for whatever reason, and just doing it because you're just trolling out, you're using the same usual talking points, and we all know what they are. You might want to rethink the life decisions that brought you to that point. I would also highly recommend Tubi is free. You can find all sorts of other great shows you can get behind. Red Dwarf, Space 1999, Farscape. My suggestion, The Nanny. I mean, you've got the president of SAG-AFTRA, Fran Drescher, Daniel Davis, the guy who played Moriarty on Star Trek The Next Generation, and Charles Shaughnessy, who I think he was just on General Hospital a few months ago. But yeah, you can find something else. Don't spoil it for the rest of us who just want to have a good time. And speaking of good times, as I alluded to before, what we have coming up in January is Console Room. We're going to have several live stream panels. They'll be available via YouTube. Once I get that schedule, I will have that posted everywhere on Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, etc. And they're streamed to YouTube, so you don't even have to pay. I would suggest going to consoleroom.com, look up Console Room Convention, go there, register for their Cybermite virtual registration. It's free. There's a Cyberman that's like $35 where you can get extra hybrid panels. But the great thing is it's showing a smaller convention that has been doing some great work, your support. And also, they're out in Minneapolis, so you don't need... going to Minneapolis in mid-January, probably not on your list of priorities, and I get that. But I figured virtually it gives all of you who can't make it a sense of what a convention panel is about. And I would also suggest checking out the How to Be a Panelist panel and the Geek Health panel. There are two that I am really proud of. And I want to thank Michael and Ben, who I was with those panels on, for being really good panelists with me. And then, like I said, we have a screening on January 21st. Paid Patreon members, you'll find that out within the next day or so. So probably New Year's Day, you'll see it, and it'll be pay locked until the next week, where it will go out publicly along with our newsletter. And our newsletter up until March will be both on TinyLetter and Button Down. But I'm going to leave the Button Down link because you can't sign up for TinyLetter. They closed that off. So 21st, if you want to join us as a paid Patreon member, we have perks. It's like you get to, if you're at the $5 or above level, you get to choose an episode. So if you wanted to see something virtually, in person, Big Finish also counts. I mean, there'll be limits. Like we're not going to show the entire War Games on an afternoon. Yes, you could do that, but why would you? And it also helps us, including me, offset the costs of meetup.com fees, web hosting, and some of the other things that help keep us, our Zoom account helps keep us moving forward. And as far as the 21st, I'm not going to spoil what it might be. Maybe it's one of the anniversary specials. Maybe it's the first Shooty Got Whip episode. Maybe it's Time in the Ronnie. I won't show you K9 and Company. I promise you that. It's that one shot from the 80s. Spoiler, it's about 12 or 13 minutes before K9 or Sarah Jane Smith come onto the screen. So just warning you, we're not going to be showing it. So for those of you who've attended in 2023 in the past, thank you. You mean a lot to me. You've really made this meetup worth it. And this past year, there have been times where I seriously considered stepping down because of a lot of other personal stuff. But you guys have really made it what it is. I'll leave all our social media links. Join us, connect with us, talk to us. We welcome you. And make sure, and I'll also make sure that the links are below this video when I post it on YouTube, Facebook, etc. And remember, Peter Capaldi is always judging you. And if Peter Capaldi is judging you, that means we invite you to come. And if you come, you see this Peter Capaldi action figure? I may even have this action figure. And Peter Capaldi, if you want to join us, you're more than welcome to. Any of the doctors are welcome to. Except William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton, because they're going to be zombies at this point. So, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for your time, and look forward to seeing you very soon.